da možemo krenuti. Ja sad ne vidim koliko vas ima, pretpostavit ću da nije puna dvorana, pa ćemo pozvati još ove koji su vani da dođu. Evo, dok se vi ugodno smještate, mi ćemo krenuti sa svečanim otvorenjem, a to svečano otvorenje pomoći će mi ostvariti kao prvo Tomo i Boris, koji su nam direktori Weekend Media festivala. Pljesak! Bravo! I Daniel kao direktor ovog krasnog HR.Weekend festivala. Evo, dečki, recite nešto.
Ja ću samo kratko. Jako mi je drago da smo usvojili još jednog brata, ili možda bolje reći sestru, a to je HR.Weekend kao jedan mladi festival koji se već u prvoj godini razvio do tog da smo morali ovaj stage pomaknuti još 10 metara iza da stane još više i više ljudi. Teme su jako interesantne. Svi mi koji upravljamo s nekim timovima razmišljamo o tom kako privući pametne i mlade ljude i drago mi je da ste tu na našem stageu i da se družimo zajedno. Prepuštam riječ svom partneru Tomi i želim vam dobrodošlicu na naš Weekend Media Festival i HR.Weekend. Ćao!
Kad smo počeli razmišljati i pripremati ovaj HR.Weekend, nismo ni slutili da će već prve godine on biti toliko dobar, uspješan, a pogotovo ne da će u drugoj godini duplirati. Tako da vas je jako puno, što mi je jako drago. Drago mi je da je ovo zajednički projekt i Weekend Media Festivala i HR.Weekenda i zato iskoriste ovih 2 dana najbolje što možete. Druženje, networking je glavni razlog dolaska ljudi, osim što će biti tu genijalni program u 2 dvorane. Imamo i novu dvoranu, ona se nalazi odmah tamo iza bara. Poslušajte sve, onda se družite, upoznajte se i proširite svoje kontakte i dogovorite suradnje. Hvala vam još jednom.
Evo, što reći kad su oni već sve rekli. Ali ja ću reći prvo, dobrodošli na HR.Weekend, oni su dobrodošlicu za vikend zaželili. I zapravo ne bih htio dužiti, nego više podijeliti možda neke obavijesti. Dakle, prvo imamo 2,5 dvorane, krivo je rekao. Dakle, ovo je najveća dvorana i tu su nam zapravo glavni content. Imamo drugu dvoranu koja je malo manja od ove i zapravo kad odete ovako kroz bar i onda zapravo iza ovog zida je druga dvorana. A imamo još jednu koju zapravo mi zovemo polovica, to je bar talk, gdje zapravo će više biti neki 1-na-1 razgovori i nju dijelimo sa vikendom, zato je polovica. Ono što smo pokušali kad smo radili ovaj festival, stvarno napraviti apsolutno jako dobar content i pokušali smo pokriti sve kategorije HR-a, od rekrutmenta, employer brandinga, razvoja, digitalizacije, tehnologija i slično, tako da se stvarno nadam da će svako naći nešto za sebe. E sad, ono što bih vam još htio reći da obavezno skinete aplikaciju My Weekend, ako već niste. Tamo imate zapravo najpregledniji raspored, ažuriran, friško sa svim informacijama. Isto tako imate kartu, možete stavljati srca na predavanja kao vaši favoriti. Drugo, zapravo, što se tiče dvorana, to ste skužili di je, no isto tako imate dakle, pristup cijelom vikendu. A vikend ima 9 dvorana i to je stvarno fenomenalno. Tako da što god vas zanima, ne znam, iz marketinga, iz IT-a, iz medija, AI-a, što god, stvarno idete i slušate i druge kontente. I zapravo treća stvar koju je bitno reći, a to je podsjetiti da je ovo festival. I šta to znači? Da je zapravo ideja bila da imamo što bolji content, ali isto tako je jako bitan taj networking. I stvarno probajte iskoristiti što više ovo vrijeme i idite sa ljudima, ne samo iz svoje firme, nego sa drugim ljudima, razgovarajte, izmjenjujte iskustva, upoznajte ljude, jer zapravo to je jako, jako velika vrijednost i meni je uvijek bio cilj doći ovdje i čak i dogovoriti par poslova. Dakle, probajte u tom smjeru. I ako fulate neko predavanje, stvarno je okej. A treća stvar, to je kao treća točka B, to sam nekima naglasio, a to je zabava. I zabava je jako bitan dio HR vikenda i vikenda i shvatite to ozbiljno. Dakle, odmorite se popodne i tu se stvarno bude do 3-4 ujutro, imamo fenomenalan program i to je jedna poseban zapravo experience networkinga i upoznavanja ljudi. I na kraju zapravo puno vam hvala što ste nas podržali, što ste došli u ovolikom broju. Puno hvala svim sponzorima, puno hvala svim predavačima, puno hvala timu Iva i zapravo svi ostali. I stvarno, bez svih vas ovaj event ne bi bio moguć. I zapravo želim vam da uživate, da iskoristite što više i vratite se sa što više novih stvari. I Iva, prepuštam tebi.
Hvala. Ja sam najviše zapamtila da ozbiljno shvatimo zabavu i to evo može biti kao i životni moto. Evo ništa, dobro jutro svima, dobrodošli sada u baš program HR Weekend festivala gdje odmah krećemo jako i to kako? Odmah ravno u kazalište. Oni su prije svega glumci, a tek onda edukatori, a žele sa svima nama podijeliti taj neki drugačiji način koji zapravo budi u nama učinkovitost, kreativnost i zapravo nam daje priliku da budemo povezaniji. Pozdravimo velikim pljeskom ovog broadwayskog, televizijskog i filmskog glumca koji će s nama podijeliti dio njihove filozofije. Aaron Neal, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, everybody. Oh! Fantastic! I know, I can't compete with that. Thank you very much, everybody. I don't speak Croatian, so I have no idea what she just said. I'm hoping it was nice and warm. And also, I'm so sorry. You come for this fabulous party conference. They lay on an amazing party last night, and then they ask you to come in at 10:30 in the morning, slightly hungover, to listen to somebody. I promise you that it will at least be engaging and energizing and hopefully will leave you with some food for thought. So I'm here today to talk, let's go back a bit, to talk about the theater of leadership. It's an odd phrase, isn't it? What does theater have to do with leadership? And what do I have to do with either of them? Well, I work and come from a company called Dramatic Resources, and I'm here thanks to Nicola and his team at HR Fabrica, who are our partners in the region. And we have been delivering trainings for decades. I've certainly been delivering trainings for 20 years in a huge variety of countries and sectors. 5 continents I've done trainings in, with companies as wide as Accenture and Cisco, Visa, UBS banks, Nestle, Deloitte, huge range of companies. And also at the business schools. I've designed and delivered trainings at Harvard Business School, at the MBA there, at IMD, at INSEAD. But the people at Dramatic Resources have this very unique double life. Hence the theater of leadership. Half of our time we spend designing and delivering these trainings. But the other half of our time we spend doing something completely different, as far away from training as possible. And this is true of everybody at Dramatic Resources. We come from the world of performance. So I myself have been an actor for 20 years plus, really. I work in theater, television, and film. There's me, without the beard, and with some padding underneath, by the way. That's not me. They put me in a big fat suit. In a movie called Paddington 2. I don't know if you've seen Paddington 2. And if you have kids, you've probably seen it more than once. And I'm sorry, they make you watch it again and again. I play a character called Spoon, who is his friend in the prison, who he disappears with. And there's me last year on stage in New York at the Longacre Theatre on Broadway in Tom Stoppard's Leopoldstadt. Unfortunately, that is a wig. I wish my hair was still like that. It was a great success. We won many Tony Awards, and a real privilege to be in that. But then, this points to an interesting question, doesn't it? Why does Dramatic Resources have so much work? Why do I have this double life when so much of what I do is in no way relevant to the people you train and to yourselves? I mean, you don't have to learn how to be a doctor in 1899 Vienna. You certainly don't have to learn how to make an imaginary cake and talk to a plastic cartoon bear. Where's the crossover? I deploy my body and my voice in order to create a character. I work on consciously working on my communication in order to create an effect. And what we discover in this wide range of sectors, all of the companies we work for do such different things, is that at their core, every company is a people business. People-to-people communication, influence and impact in that sector is critical. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, as I got up on this stage, you were looking at me and making judgments. Judgments about whether you trust me, whether I'm someone that you want to listen to. And some of those judgments are being made by the information I tell you. But some of those judgments are being made in a totally different way. Let me show you. What if I stood up and came on stage like this? Good morning, everybody. My name's Aaron Neal. I am an actor and a trainer with Dramatic Resources, and we have many clients all around the world. Can you see how it doesn't matter what I say? You've decided within seconds that this is not a person I want to listen to. Why not? Perhaps because I don't have any energy. All right, let's add some energy. If I come on and I go, good morning, everybody. My name's Aaron Neal, and I'm an actor and a trainer with Dramatic Resources, and we have a lot of clients around the world. Still not quite right, is it? Still not quite right. I've got energy, but it's a bit nervy. It lacks gravitas. Let's add some gravitas. Good morning. My name is Aaron Neal. I'm an actor, and I work for Dramatic Resources. Now that's awful, isn't it? That's awful. You don't like me instantly. 3 different effects entirely with the same words. You get an insight into my job. Now, most of the time, we talk in a situation where our words and everything else is in alignment. But under times of pressure and stress, when the message is critical, when you're standing on a stage talking in front of people, when you are delivering to a key stakeholder, when you have a critical presentation to give, that's when sometimes the rest of it, apart from the words, goes out of alignment. What do I mean by the rest of it? Well, I'm talking about your body and your voice, because that's all you're reading, isn't it? There is a very famous study done by a social scientist called Professor Albert Mehrabian. And one of the things he discovered was, it's about 1980 he does this study, what carries the weight of our message when we communicate? Well, I've just shown you. It's not just the words, because I've made you dislike me in 3 different ways, as separate from the words. It's actually body and voice. And in the context of what I've just shown you, this statistic probably makes sense. Mehrabian said that those 3 things carry our impact in that moment of human-to-human communication in these proportions. I know, it's quite scary, because if you look at this, you think, content, only 7%? And of course, you're right. If you go and watch a YouTube TED Talk tonight in a language you don't speak, I don't speak Russian. If I go and watch a Russian TED Talk tonight. I'm not going to pick up 55 plus 38% of the content. You know, it's not how it's going to work from me just moving my hands around. But what Morabian was talking about was what I just showed you, is that when things pull in a different direction, that's what we believe. If this person comes on stage, good morning, everybody. My name's Aaron Neal. You can see how that applies. So how do we get our people to have the conscious ability to deploy their body and voice in the same way that I've learned in years in the theater and on screen? Well, it's tricky because you can't tell them. You can't just say, listen, use your body, use your voice, thank you very much, that was my talk. Because you would quite rightly ask, how? How? Because in moments of pressure, I may plan to do it, but different things happen. And I like to think of communication very much like a sport. If you were to swim across the Adriatic Ocean in November, you would not spend the next 4 weeks watching PowerPoint presentations about how to swim or reading books in the library about how to swim. No, you'd get out there and swim. And this is what we bring to our clients across the world, is this idea of experiential learning. Learning by doing, not just by telling you. There is a very famous study done by IBM some time ago and repeated by the United Kingdom Post Office. And in that study, people were given a piece of learning, and 3 cohorts were given it a different way. Some of them were simply told, here is the learning. Some of them were shown, like they demonstrated it, much like I demonstrated to you different versions of body and voice here. And the others were asked to participate actively in doing it. So the statistic of retention of this information, they came back to them after 3 weeks and after 3 months. After 3 weeks, they discovered that those who were told, 70% of them remembered. Those who were shown, 72% remembered. And those who did it, 85%. Okay, fair enough, but not a significant enough difference for us to pay attention to. But after 3 months, only 10% could remember. I wonder if any of you have had the phenomenon of going to a training, thinking it's a great thing, and then 3 months later you think, I seem to remember it was useful, but I can't remember the information. It's a common phenomenon. That's that bracket. If they were shown, it went up to 32%. And here's the real kicker from the study. If they were involved in doing the learning, it went to 65%. That's quite stunning. And the revolution that's happening really around the world, particularly with communication, is that if you want to help people be better to people, to influence people, to win hearts and minds, you need to show them to do it in a way that is interactive, that is fun, that isn't just them talking at them. Now, I know what you're thinking. I buy this, so why are you talking at me? It's a fair point, isn't it? I've shown you some stuff, but I haven't got you to do anything just yet. Okay, now you look scared. I promise you that for the next 10, 15 minutes, I will ask you to do stuff not up here, just to the person next to you, to give you a flavor of what we do, to give you a taster of what we do, so that actually you can be in that 3 months later, 65% of you will remember the experience. It's the simplest thing in the world. But I'm going to ask you to stand up. And I would ask you to turn to the person next to you. Now, there may be a few left out. If you're left out, you might want to find a partner from behind the row. That's all you have to do. And if you can't find a partner, don't worry, you can watch another pair do the exercise. The exercise is very simple. You will have a script. The script, in case you don't know it, is up there. Very simple. All you're going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do it with me all together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Easy. But you have to do it alternately with your pair. So it'll be 1, then they will go 2, and you'll go 3. 1, 2, 3. And you keep on going backwards and forwards. And I'll stop you in a second. Just try that. All right, just the exercise has many stages. It has many stages. At this stage, let me stop you and ask you, just generally, was that easier or harder than you thought it was going to be? So I'm hearing harder, generally. Yes, this is interesting, isn't it? Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? We know what comes after 1. It's the number 2. We know that if your partner is going to say 2, I'm going to say 3. What makes it hard? My contention to you is what makes it hard is that the information you're receiving from the person in front of you isn't just the content. That's 7% of the information you're receiving. 93% of the information you're receiving is what they are doing with their body and their voice. And you have to focus because that could be anything. This is tricky. This is the tricky business of communicating with another human being. I'm going to ask you, now that we know it is hard, I'm going to do another round. We'll build this up. What makes it go easier? Okay, I know that it feels a bit like wobbling on a tightrope, that I might fall off. So my question to you is, this next round, I want you to think, what makes this go easier? But I'm not going to make it so easy. The number 1 has now gone, and in its place is this. Listen to you. You all go, oh no, I don't think I can do that. It's the hardest thing I'll do all week. So the sequence is really 2, 3. Off you go, try that. All right, I'll stop you briefly there. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. Now, how? I'm guessing that that's a little tricky as well. But as you start asking yourself, and normally in the course of a workshop I would wander amongst you and I'd ask you, but there's so many people here that I'm going to ask these questions and let you think about them yourselves. The first thing is, what gets in the way of my doing this? And what makes it easier? And the reason we're asking you these questions is, this is, at its simplest, what communication is. Standing in front of another person, going backwards and forwards, and what this exercise does is it distills it into its simplest form. It will activate the difficulty that you feel, but it won't have any content to worry about. And you notice that, oh, I lose it, I forget, I lose it, I forget. My contention to you is that there are some things you will instantly try and do that will close down your communication. I wonder if you can think what they are. How many people stopped breathing? 2. Like, you know, it suddenly becomes very serious, doesn't it? Very serious. You get up to do a presentation, you have all the will in the world to be relaxed and enjoyable, and then suddenly you get very serious because you get nervous. That's what happens when you stop breathing, yeah. Another thing that helps is looking into people's eyes. A little bit of eye contact really helps. Breathing, eye contact. How fast do you have to go in the game? I haven't told you have to go fast, but I can guarantee you that you put pressure on yourselves to go faster than you thought you had to, right? It's interesting how everything that happens to us in a moment of tension, which is what pressured communication is very similar to walking through the woods and seeing a bear. You go, and then it becomes very hard to present from this place because I'm suddenly all locked up. So your challenge this time is to be in relaxation. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to keep eye contact with the person in front of me. I am going to go slowly so that I don't push myself to go faster. By the way, what happens when you make a mistake? Laughter, the joyous sound of laughter in a room. Here's an interesting thing. If you are connected with your audience and you make a mistake, you laugh. If you disconnect from your audience and you make a mistake, you punish yourself. I shouldn't have done. And people disconnect with their audience out of fear. They could be up here, and instead of looking at you, they look at the slide. Comfortable. Slide isn't going to tell me that it's bored or criticizing me. Keep your connection with your audience, and mistakes don't matter. Now, so you're going to do it one last time. And this time, you chance to practice breathing, focus, attention, and just to absolutely cement this, if you make a mistake, you high five, because you celebrate your mistake. Because the importance of the game is connection, not anything else. The sequence is also going to change, by the way. Oh, no, you didn't think I was going to let you off easy. 2. That's it. So you're only saying the number 2. 2. Off you go. Okay. Let me stop you there. Before I even ask you any other questions, go back to the first round, to your partner. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just go back to them now. How was that? Right? Yeah, okay. So, well done. Yeah, good. So there are a few things I want you to think about. My guess is you thought it was going to be easier, but you were surprised at how much easier it was. Yeah, you can sit down for a moment. I will, in fact, you can sit down for a moment. You'll do another exercise in a second with the same partner, but you can do it sat down if you want. It's surprising how much easier it is. I would ask you to consider this. If the amount of development of skill that you had from from the beginning point of 1, 2, 3 to the end of end point just then, could not have been achieved any quicker any other way. What do I mean by that? If I had put up a series of slides saying breathe, make eye contact, it would not have reached you the same way. And you're also likely to remember this as well. Experiential learning changes the fabric of trainings so that it's fun. Also, everyone is going to have a different experience. It's not about me telling you. It's about you noticing, oh, do you know what? I tend to disconnect with the eyes, or I tend to breathe. You're all having your own experience. That's the power of this kind of stuff, and why it allows us to come from the world of the theater and bring our techniques into the world of leadership. The theater's main tool is the rehearsal room. You get together in a room, you create a safe space, you let people try things, you don't punish them or give them any kind of pressured situation to try, and you let them learn. That's where we go with this stuff. The other thing that the theater does is storytelling. Stories are interesting. Everyone knows that they need to tell stories in business. It's a very big business buzzword. Nobody quite knows why or how. Well, we're going to be doing a workshop later on at 5:15 to explore this in more detail. But just to give you a flavor, and before I finish this, turn back to your same partner, and I would like you to select an object that is either in your pocket or something you are wearing. It could be an item of clothing. It could be a watch. It could be something that's in your pocket. Just make that selection. in the same pair. So if you but you can do this sat down if you want. Okay, so find an object, turn to your partner. I'm going to ask you across 30 seconds to your partner, and I will swap you over, one each, to describe the object factually as clearly as possible. So were I to describe this watch, I would say this is a watch. It is made by Garmin. It is an electronic watch. It has a yellow strap. It measures heart rate. You know, you get as factual as you possibly can. 30 seconds each way, so you have to decide who's going first. All right. The other person just listens, and I'll swap you over. Off you go. And swap over if you haven't already. All right, I'll stop you there. So, if I grab your attention for 1 minute, you're going to do the same exercise about the object, but this time, instead of the facts about the object, you are going to tell a story about the object. Why? So, for my purpose, it would be this. It would be, look, I've wanted to get into running for a very long time, and I thought, do you know what? If I buy myself one of these fancy watches that monitors my heart rate, then I'll really get into it. So it's actually worked quite well. I've been using it, and it monitors your heart rate, and it tracks all the statistics. So we're totally the same object, but 1 minute each, talking about the story of the object. It's up to you how you create the content there. And then you swap over. I'll swap you over after 1 minute. Off you go. And swap over if you haven't already, so the other person gets a chance. Thank you. Very good. And if you want to know more or hear more, you can ask your partner a bit later. Look, this is just a taster of the work that we do. But I think you can see very practically the difference between talking factually and the difference between talking with a story. Also, the content can be the same. There is always a story to tell about your content, no matter how boring or dull it may seem. If you want to know more, we're running a more involved storytelling session a little bit later today at 5:15 out there in the bar, and we'll do more of these experiential exercises to give you a sense of how to engage. I want you to think about the person you've just been talking to and how you feel about them when they've revealed this story, this little bit of information, and you've played with them. This kind of training functions on two levels. First of all, you learn, but also you get an experience of connecting with the person next to you. It's playful, it's fun, and it leverages the most important part of person-to-person communication, which is kind of in the title, the person. I always feel that when you put a slide deck up and you start to talk, and you know when someone starts to just read the slide deck, and I sort of go, why didn't you just send this to me? I can read. I would have read it on my own, in my own time. When there is a deck and a presenter, the reason that that exists, the value add above the deck itself is right here. It's the person. And our trainings and this experiential theatrical style encourages you to leverage the personal, the individual, because what you will find is that is the most influential. Folks, thank you for your time. See some of you later. Have a good weekend.
No problem. Opa. Aaron,